It is now my pleasure to introduce you to an old friend who will introduce you to three more friends, three of the finest speakers I know, frankly. These are all relationships that started for me here at this conference more than a decade ago. Math teacher, technology integrationist and instructional coach, assistant principal at STEM Middle at Baldwin Road in Reynoldsburg, co-creator of EdCamp Columbus and OETCX. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Toby Fischer.
Welcome to Fred Talks. I'm going to start off with a question for you. What brought you here today? Think about that. Okay, round of applause. How many people are here today because it got you out of the office, got out of the classroom, got you here just for a day out of your work? Okay, we have a few honest people, a bunch of people fibbing. But to be honest, what brought you here today was because you have a passion for your kids and you want to come here to get better. I like that. I'm cute. In 2012, a bunch of us got together and we wanted to know more about how we were doing that. How were we making education better for our students? And we'd get in circles and talk, but then we started talking about how can we share this message bigger? And that was the birth of Fred. We decided that if we created 5-minute presentations that were fast-paced and told a story of what education really should be, what it could be, then we would walk away from this conference as better educators. We would walk away motivated to get back in our jobs the next day, be in a classroom or an office, and make a difference with our students. Because that's the only thing that really matters in our world. Our first talk today will be Mr. Eric Curts, and I guarantee he will give you a message that does just that. Welcome, Mr. Eric Curts.
Hey, this story starts in 1992, my first year teaching. Who was teaching in 92? Who was a student in 92? Who was not alive in 92? Oh, that hurts. Oh, well, my first class wasn't all that nice. No air conditioning, not a lot of electricity. But the really weird thing about my room was we had these crazy tall ceilings. So in the back of my room, I had this giant big blank wall. Now, I wanted my room to be attractive and exciting for the kids, but I wasn't rolling in the big teacher dough just yet, so I had to come up with a creative way to cover my big blank wall. Well, for those of you that weren't yet born in 1992, we used to have these places called video rental stores where you could get physical copies of movies. And I went in and I asked them, hey, can I have your old movie posters at the end of each month when you're done with them? And they took pity on this poor math teacher and they said yes. So that's what I did. I covered my big blank wall with movie posters. It worked great. I shared my love of movies. I made my classroom colorful for free. It was the perfect solution until about 3 years later, we moved into a new building and it was really nice. Bright and modern, air conditioning, lots of electricity, but it was missing one thing: no tall ceilings. So I'm standing there in my new classroom thinking, where am I gonna put my movie posters? I'm thinking I could cover my whiteboards, maybe turn them sideways. I'm literally thinking I could hang them from the ceiling maybe. And then it hit me. I'm thinking, what on earth am I thinking? So I was trying, the only reason I had these movie posters in the first place was to cover a big blank wall that I no longer had. I was stuck in my habit. I was doing something we all do many times. I was confusing process with purpose. Process is what we do, purpose is why we do it. And I was stuck in a habit. My process was putting up movie posters in my classroom, but the purpose was to make my classroom exciting and inviting. Years later, when I became a tech coach, I wondered, if I could do this with movie posters, could we do this with technology as well? Yes, we do. Take printing, for example. First, we had mimeograph machines. Who can still smell the purple ink? Yes? Then there's laser jets and desk jets and copiers, but there's always been printing. But what is printing? A process or a purpose? Well, it's just a process. The purpose is to share information between teachers and students and parents and others. However, with technology, there are so many other processes we have to do that. We can use Google Docs, we can use websites, we can make videos, and this gives us the benefit of not wasting paper, being able to reach unlimited people, and the dog can't eat your homework if it's digital. How about another example? Let's take paper and pencil assessments. Nothing wrong with these, perfectly fine, but it's just one process for the purpose of trying to understand what our students have learned. Well, with technology, we have so many other processes. We can use Google Forms or Kahoot or quizzes or Pear Deck. And these provide us with immediate feedback. They give us data analysis. They let us use assistive technology options like text-to-speech. One more example. How about lecturing from the front of the classroom? Again, nothing wrong with that. I'm doing it right now. But it's just a process for the purpose of giving our students a way to learn new information. But our kids can do that in so many ways now. Students can have a hangout with an expert on the other side of the world, or they can do project-based learning, or they can watch YouTube videos, and all of these empower them and give them ownership and help them to become lifelong learners. Now, as exciting as all of that is, I understand change can be frightening. It was difficult for me when I got a new classroom that didn't have a big blank wall, and I had to find a new way to make my classroom engaging and exciting. Well, like it or not, guys, you have a new classroom. You may be in the same physical room, but the world has changed around us, and we have to change our classrooms to prepare our students for their future. Over the next 3 days, you are going to see some of the most amazing technology tools. My encouragement to you is to ask yourself, what is your big blank wall? Is there anything you need to let go of and try a new process for the ultimate purpose of helping our students learn, grow, and be the best they can be? Thanks.
So a little known fact about Eric, he actually is trying to set a record for the most presentations given at one conference this year. If you enjoyed that 5 minutes, I highly encourage you, get on your app, look at his other sessions. One of my favorite that he's delivering tomorrow is the Bionic Educator, where he really starts to talk about how artificial intelligence and the educator us matter. And that kind of blends me into our next presenter, because our next presenter is that person. What do we as the humans deliver that a computer never will be able to? And it's the passion and love that we deliver to our students on a daily basis. The amount we care. And I've never met someone who is more passionate about kids than the next person coming up on stage. I met Sean at Ed Camp Columbus, the very first one ever, and it was amazing to watch the adults follow him like he was the Pied Piper, because his words are so passionate about kids. So I can't wait to hear what he has to tell us today. Welcome, Sean Wheeler.
Hey, everyone. So, first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and thank you so much for the job you do. We do a hard job. And thank you for doing it. And I mean that I thank you for my kids and for the kids who are in front of you and for all the parents you run into. But I want to talk about a problem that I encountered. There's a myth in Greek mythology called the myth of Sisyphus. And the idea is that he's bound forever trying to do something that's impossible. And he never gets anywhere. And he still does it. The philosopher Camus said what we have to do to wrap our heads around why somebody would do this really hard thing that seems impossible was that we had to imagine Sisyphus as happy. So how do we find that happiness? How do we look at the world we have in front of us as educators and make ourselves happy? Well, I found a way, and that's just being an artist. Education and teaching are art forms. Hear me loud and clear on that. It is an art form what we do. Now you can measure it with science. You can talk about what goes on and how we reduce the sizes of this and increase the scores of this. I'm a public educator at a high school in Cleveland, and last year I got 12.6 growth rates in my reading class. But it's kind of like saying in this painting up behind me that I use just enough blue. Right? You don't measure an artwork by exactly what you see when you encounter it. Right? Sometimes I think that we measure the wrong things. And so I want to talk to you about teacher motivation. Not how we motivate kids, how we motivate ourselves. We motivate ourselves the way artists do. I have never, all these things behind me are paintings I've done or digital artworks I've done in the last 3 years. And as I look at them, I think about, why do I get up every day and paint? The other day in Cleveland when it was 12 below and we had a snow day, I was painting with frozen paint, freezing my butt off. But I did it because I wanted to engage in creating something wonderful. I did it because I know that art is additive. And the more I'm in a relationship with that art, the more I can add to it and change it and make it interesting and make it special for people. I didn't feel alone, even though I'm sitting there painting totally by myself. And I can do what I want. I can go left, I can go right, I can go blue, I can go red. And these are the things that matter as I make art. I have topics, I have subject matter. I do a lot of things with blending. I do a lot of things with scratching. You'll see in the paintings behind me, lots of texture. Because I believe that at the heart, all of us are artists who want to create this kind of atmosphere in our classrooms. And not in our classrooms, in our boardrooms, and in our board meetings. That we have to have a conversation with teachers and educators that involves the art of what we do. You can come at me with data, you can come at me with metrics, and I'll work hard to get you your score. But you know what I'm working harder for? For building my city, for creating neighbors who care about things, for creating good citizens who try hard and who believe in things. I believe in fostering hope and curiosity, and that's what art does. You can't measure some of this stuff, but we do it anyway. Every day when I go into work, I think about what my real job is. And my real job is to look out at this world of education where I'm pushing this rock all the way up the hill and watching it roll back down sometimes. Jamil got an F on the test today. And then I think, okay, the beautiful thing is art isn't done until you're finished with it. And I want us to work with our kids in a way that always admits that we're not finished, that the day the scores come in, we're not done, that the fourth quarter isn't wasted, that the fourth quarter is where we get to play the most. So as you go about the conference this week, I want you to really think about how lucky we are to be artists in a world where the canvas is humans and we get to get all of the joy that we get from any work of art. Thank you very much.
One of the biggest learning moments I ever had in my life was actually with Sean. We were in Philadelphia at a conference, and we sat down for dinner at a restaurant. We had no pen, we had no paper. We asked the waiter for a pen, and we took a napkin. And we started sketching out kind of what he just talked about. What should education be? And by the end of dinner, we had this map of what we want our lives to be. It's amazing to see 6 years after that was built, both of us are actually doing work very similar to what we put on that napkin that day. So our next presenter is the one who, you ever seen a mic drop moment? He's the one who delivers these. He's all about creation and creativity and having that be the students' work, not us as the educators, which takes a lot of work. But he told me he's going to take a little different spin today, and he said he's going to shock you all. So I'm ready for Mr. Jon Smith to come out and shock us all with his story.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jon Smith. I'm a tech integration specialist, a father, a husband, a professional golfer. I'm just kidding. I like to wash cars, but for the last year and a half, I have been completely fascinated with death. I know what you're thinking. There must be something wrong with John, right? Like, what's going on with him? Well, I'm here to promise you that nothing is more wrong than what there is normally with me, I suppose. This will all make sense in just a few minutes, so sit back and relax. So 7 years ago, I started as a tech integration specialist, and the principal asked me to do these sessions at lunch called Learning at Lunch, where we would teach teachers technology during their lunch breaks and would feed them. Teachers loved it, I loved it. We had a captive audience. They went back with tips and tricks that they could immediately use in their classrooms. And it was so awesome. And then about a few years later, the money for Learning at Lunch dried up. And the principal, he came to me and he said, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We can't feed the teachers. Can we do something different? Maybe we can do a session in the morning and we'll call it Computers and Cronuts or something. And so I said, sure, why not, right? Let's do that. And so we did. And it was awesome. But then after a while, those morning sessions didn't become so awesome. And it became mandatory, right? Because we couldn't get those teachers to show up anymore. And so it went from 1 day a week to 3 days a week to mandatory, and it was not good. It was really ugly. And so one day I was talking to my curriculum director about this, and I was telling her how frustrated I was with Computers and Cronuts, and that I just wanted to quit my job, and I couldn't handle it anymore. And she just kind of looked at me, and she goes, well, I can see that you're frustrated, but I think she thought I was kind of joking. And I was like, I'm not joking about this. I want to quit my job. I absolutely do not like what I'm doing. And she goes, well, maybe it's not a time to be sad, right? Maybe this is a time for you to celebrate. And I said, you're clearly not listening. Don't you see the pain on my face? Don't you understand that I want to quit my job? I hate this. And she goes, yeah, well, she goes, I understand that, but maybe you need to look at this a little bit differently. And then she asked me something that stopped me in my tracks. And she said, maybe this isn't a time for you to be sad. Maybe it's a time to celebrate because the teachers, maybe they don't need you anymore. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, maybe the teachers don't need you in the way that they've needed you in the past. Maybe they've grown beyond sit and get, and they need to move on to something different. And so I started thinking about that. And after many hours of reflection, I started to realize that maybe this was right. Maybe she was right. This was a time to celebrate. Maybe Computers and Cronuts needed to die, right? Maybe this death was a good thing, and it was a time to celebrate. And so I started thinking about other things in my life, both professionally and personally, that needed to die. And I looked at the mountains of paperwork that teachers have, the conversations I have with others, the side jobs, the other things that I do, through a whole different lens. And I started looking and wondering, what were the things in my life that just needed to go? And so I looked at it, and I started at the very top. And the very first thing was Computers and Cronuts. And I decided, Computers and Cronuts must die. And so I had a funeral for it. And so I invited the teachers in for this funeral. And it was great. They came and they paid their respects, and they stood up at the podium, and they talked about the memories of a time past. And it was fantastic, and it was really cool. And so that brings us to today's discussion, and something that I want you to think about. There are many things that we do on a daily basis, and I want you to think about those professionally and personally. Things that maybe we don't need anymore, right? Here at OETC this week, you guys are going to be learning about wonderful new things. You're going to have amazing conversations with others. And there's probably things that we need to take out with the trash. Because when you think about all the new things that you're going to learn today and tomorrow and Thursday, what are we going to do with those, right? We can't just keep stuffing stuff onto our plate, right? We have to get rid of some of the things that just don't belong anymore. And so I'm not going to give you a list. I don't have a list of things that need to die for you. Somebody asked me that once before. They're like, do you have a list? And I don't, because it's personal. My list might be 10 times longer than your list. But we all have a list. And so I need you to think about the activities and procedures and conversations and routines and mindsets that you carry every single day with you. And I need you to think about those things that simply must die.
Let's give another round of applause for Eric, Sean, and John. What an amazing job. Great stories they told today. If you enjoyed these stories, we'll be back tomorrow, same, a little bit different time, a little earlier in the day before the keynote tomorrow. And then the root of how this all started was a traditional session like we go to. So tomorrow at noon, we will have in Union Station B, mostly rookies coming up for the first time. And some of them have some unique ways of delivering. So we look forward to seeing you back on the stage or in Union B tomorrow.